Right, it'll see. Right, Egils, we're live now. Welcome to our 12 Roddies live chat. Nice to have you on for the next 30 minutes, having a chat with you about your background, and maybe you can share a little bit about yourself and how you've got into what you're doing, so that the audience can understand a little bit about you before we ask some questions.
Okay, thank you for having me here. I'm very happy to share my knowledge, my wisdom, my experience. Yes, my name is Egils. I'm from Latvia. Like I like to joke, it's the eastern front of Western civilization. And my background is in digital marketing. I used to own a digital marketing agency. I exited that agency 6 years ago and leaned more into human-centric mm, business side of the world, like coaches and communities, and working directly with CEOs as a mentor, also for startups. So yeah, I would say right now what describes me best is marketing plus sales plus AI. So that's in a nutshell my background.
Got that. Well, before I delve into asking you some questions, a couple of things for the audience listening, and also when this is posted on our platforms such as YouTube and Facebook. Just want you to be aware that you can ask questions in the comments. We'll be able to put them onto the screen if it's live and have a go at answering your questions. But also for the audience, just to frame the audience that this is all focused at. This is focused at founders, people that want to start a business. So the really early stage. Now they can be a startup, they can be a co-founder, they can be an expert or mentor in this area, but it's focused on people at the really early stage of businesses. So that's our audience, Egils, that we're focused on, and we're looking for some questions. But I'm going to jump into some questions, and let me put the first one on screen for us here. So you mentioned about your journey, and you're running a successful agency, and you also mentioned you're very much involved in the AI side of things. But I know that coaching is also very, very central to what you're doing. How did you make that transition from running an agency to this AI world and this coaching world that you're doing now?
Well, I think the biggest thing in my mind is that I always try to solve something. And one of the things that I haven't been able to solve very good is human connection, human communication with friends, with my children, with my coworkers, with clients. I always see that there is something more and something more. And my mind was like, I have to solve that. I have to get deeper into that. And when I was working in the agency, what I understood is that I could, like, I need to learn so much more about the human connection there, and that's where I made this brave move into something completely new. And at some time I would say, ooh, I don't recommend something like that to people, to jump into this completely new area like coaching. But at the same time, I definitely can say that my subconscious goal was to be a better father, to be a better human for my children, and that definitely has been has been the result of all this. So my question to that is that I would say subconsciously I wanted to be a better person, and I see that I am improving in that direction.
No, absolutely. And Egils, you hit on something that I think is quite key to what us founders, us entrepreneurs, is central to what we do. We solve things, or we try to solve things. It's all about solving a problem, really, not just coming up with an idea. At the end of the day, we're trying to solve things for customers. And so that transition of yours, that is trying to solve something that's come from your passion about being a better person, being a better father, is wrapped up into that entrepreneurial part of solving things. So very good, very good. I'm going to throw out my next question, actually, Egils, in terms of while we're talking about entrepreneurs, what sort of marketing strategies are most effective for those that are bootstrapping? Because most entrepreneurs, Egils, don't have the money to, or don't have the connection, should I say, to get outside money. So it's all about bootstrapping. from your marketing agency days and from what you're doing now, what are effective strategies for us entrepreneurs that are bootstrapping?
Well, first of all, I would say forget most or all the books that are telling you you need to do this and this and this and this and this and this, because for startups it's not impossible. Coca-Cola can do it, Microsoft can do it. They have billions of dollars of revenues and hundreds of millions of marketing budgets. They can have a huge teams. For bootstrapping, I would say focus on your strength that you already have, whatever that is, but it's not very easy to understand that. So I would say something specific. First of all, is content marketing. I know
Right.
people who are making millions of US dollars and they still are training themselves to be a better communicator. Some of them focus on writing, on typing. Some of them focus on making videos. So whatever you do, prepare yourself to be clearer. Like this podcast, we are training ourselves by participating here to express our thought,
Yeah.
and every startup should at least try to master that. The founders, in the bootstrapped way. The second
Yes.
thing that I would recommend is networking. Networking is
Yeah.
whatever you do, write down, maybe in some kind of spreadsheet, the people that you network with. What I do is I focus on connecting with those people on LinkedIn, and I push myself to always write a message in that LinkedIn when I connect to that person, so that whenever I look back, I can always look at the message. So this is how we got connected through that event. So two things. One thing is the content. The second thing is your personal network. Your personal network. You have to make it stronger.
That's actually really good advice, and I'm glad in a way that myself and 12 Ronnies are taking this approach, because we're a startup, we're early stage, and one of our main strategies is to develop content. So this sort of podcasts and live streams are content that we can share on our social media platforms. And
Exactly. Some people will perform better in live. Some people will better perform in recorded. But just go out and do it, and just see whatever comes out of you best.
yeah, and also I've noticed, I don't know whether it's different with you, but I've noticed I have a particular social media platform that I focus on. So for me, it's LinkedIn. For other people, I know it's Facebook and TikTok and the other platforms out there.
And that's another good advice. Focus on where you feel good at. Not if somebody comes to you and says, you have to do TikTok, and you go on TikTok and you just don't feel that you are part of that. I wouldn't recommend pushing yourself into something that you don't like, especially for startup founders, because you're creating something that you love versus something that will make you a quick buck. So definitely choose. There are, in all the platforms, you can be successful. Just choose whatever you like most.
Thanks. Thank you, Egils. Going to run on to the next question. We've got some good questions to get through today. So founders, what are the top 3 questions founders should ask themselves before creating a business plan? So, and what I mean by a business plan here is a launch plan, because our audience are launching businesses. So before they create this launch plan, what are the top questions? I put the top 3, but the sort of the top questions they should ask themselves.
Okay. Well, one thing that I do, I already mentioned this. One thing that I do when I work, whether this coaching or consulting, I dive deeper into understanding what good things, what assets, what kind of resources that person already has. What are the strengths? What are the achievements? Because those things is, for many people, we look past our strength and we try to build on our weaknesses. But the most important thing is to sit down, write down. Maybe you have 10,000 LinkedIn connections. Maybe you have 10,000 emails. Maybe you are very good at writing. Maybe you have a very good alumni group from your university. So write down your assets. So all the things that you have, like resources. So the second thing is, whatever you do, choose one target audience. One of the things that I would say is explain your idea to AI, copy paste those assets, those resources that you have to AI, and ask, give me 3 options. Who is the best target audience for this? And then choose one of the target audiences. You might then shift to the second or the third, but choose one target audience. Target audience is because when you talk to everyone, nobody hears you. When you talk to somebody like you in the beginning of this call, you very specifically mentioned your target audience, and that is a good example what startup founders should do.
I was going to say, I mean, that's that. I'm really glad that right at the beginning. I mean, I did have a tip from you to do with this, but to be able to identify, and I think that's a really good thing when you're speaking to a group of people. Make sure that they understand the audience that we're speaking to, because it is about audiences, and we're talking to you about marketing and getting out there as founders. And something else I just want to touch on is one of our previous podcast live streams a couple of weeks ago with Christopher Norris and Bill Murray. They were talking about authenticity and about how important that is to be authentic in your startup. And this comes across very much with you, something you mentioned earlier about, one of your driving forces was your family. That's a very authentic approach. And I think that as well as targeting an audience, being authentic to that audience, comes across certainly with you, Egils.
Well, thank you. First of all, when I looked back when I was running the agency, I really enjoyed it. But then I asked myself, if I want my children to remember me with something, would that be the agency? And my honest answer was not, and that's how I made this rush decision, maybe to change that with that authenticity. But that's the same thing is with AI. When you are having these conversations with AI, you have to be honest also about yourself, and then AI will help you better. So yeah, definitely authenticity.
Well, I really wanted to touch on the AI question because I did a previous a live stream, actually, I think it was last week's with Anna, where we were talking about AI in business, and it's not just a passion of mine. I think it's a passion of all of ours right now. And my next question was to do with that, actually, about AI without compromising the authenticity that we talked about there. How would entrepreneurs use AI to make their authenticity come across? Because it's an incredible tool that we now have at our disposal, and I know you're passionate about it. What advice would you give?
So one thing that I did is I asked AI, and I asked multiple AIs, and actually I also used this one tool, which was a much deeper tool that research me, my name. My name is pretty unique. I don't know anyone named the same as me. So whenever you search my name online, whatever you find, you will find about me, right? So, yes. And when I asked AI about me, one of the first things that AI said is that, well, if you want to sell something to Egils, mention the family because it's important to him. It was a little bit scary because when I was reading that report through, I was like, wow, would I be self-aware if somebody would start to talk like that to me? So, and by building on top of that is, I would say that go in, download your LinkedIn profile. If you have LinkedIn recommendations or any other testimonials, or go out and ask people, send them emails, what do they think about you? And gather as much of this kind of information as possible, and then upload all that information to AI. I think that what is building that authenticity. And for me, I have built GPTs that has this personal touch, and when I'm chatting with that specific GPT, for example, this one time in the beginning, I remember ChatGPT mentioned my wife's name, and I should do this with her, and I had this like a freezing moment. How does it know? And then I understood that I actually shared that previously into that one GPT. So, anyways, what I'm trying to tell you is that if we're talking about the entrepreneurs themselves. Is that's what I've done for myself. That's what I do for my clients. I help them to extract their wisdom, then in this case their authenticity, and upload it to AI. And then AI, like I feel that AI understands that about you, and then it goes out and brings back that true brand of yours.
That's brilliant. What I love about that is you can use AI to analyze yourself from what it grabs out there on the web about you, what you put into it, and it can give then insights that you might not have been aware of. I might just use that. Today, Google, Gemini has released a feature that I started using today, where it asks you to put in details about yourself, and it saves them, and you can put in some details, and then it'll save them for all further chats. So I was uploading little snippets from my LinkedIn, but I might go a stage further and take all of that, ask an AI to analyze it, and then upload those insights into, rather than what's directly on my LinkedIn, load those insights into the profile.
That's a very good thing. Like I went a step further. If we are diving deeper, because
love it.
What I did is that I uploaded a bunch of documents to AI, and I asked it to ask me even more questions and more questions and more questions. And then I created this different space, which and this is also Gemini, but this is AI Studio. An AI Studio, you can have these 2 million tokens conversations there. So basically, you can have millions of words of conversations back and forth with AI. And what I do now is that almost daily, I do this voice note in Otter AI. I transcribe that voice note, and I upload to this my personal space. And every week I have a conversation to see how my daily thinking process is connected to this bigger picture that I built for myself. And I've the self-awareness is crazy from this kind of approach.
Well, when we first met and started talking, I remember there a lot of your focus was on philosophy, and you were very much into understanding yourself, understanding the bigger purpose, all of these things. And I imagine AI has been a phenomenal tool for this. And actually, I was going to go on to my next question, was actually around the philosophy side of things. But maybe you could we could link it back into the AI. How does philosophy play a role in helping founders navigate entrepreneurial setbacks and maintain focus? So I'm trying to think here, bringing in philosophy, now our experience of AI. How can we use this to help founders? How can we use this to help ourselves as founders?
Okay, well, to continue on top of the previous question, especially for those startup founders, is that if you will try to join Accelerator, if you will try to find a co-founder, and yes, there might be people who will focus on your skills, but more and more people are also focusing on your personal growth, this philosophy, your worldview. And that is why it is important to build the self-awareness. And how philosophy helps to build this self-awareness is because the philosophy is way of life where you just question the big things. And so many people, they go to job, they do their job, they come back. And I think, like I have had these conversations with coaches, with consultants, is that a lot of us don't want to ask those important questions. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Is what led to that? Why do I have these kind of friends? Why do I have these kind of partnerships? And once you start to ask those deep questions, there are some painful moments because you suddenly understand something that you have been doing for years, but you don't want to do. So that's how I would answer this question, is that the philosophy, and I leaned into Stoic philosophy 2 years ago, and that has helped me a lot to just ask these very deep, important, and sometimes even painful questions.
You see, this part of it is so important when you're building a startup team, whether the team is co-founders, and often you work, it's when you're starting a business, you work with your co-founders, normally spend more time with them than you will with your significant partner at home, because it's all hands to deck when you're launching a business. And if you don't have the same philosophy, if there isn't a chemistry, if there isn't common values, then
Yeah.
it's going to go wrong somewhere. And it's not just with co-founders. We do a lot of mentoring at 12 Ronnies, and you really want to find a mentor, and a mentor wants to find founders with similar philosophies, with similar outlooks. It's not just about skills here. So
I want to say this. I've seen some examples where people go overboard with this, and they do is talk about the philosophy, about those things. So I would say, find the balance.
Yeah.
Do talk about skills. It's you do need to focus on the skills, but don't forget about the philosophy also. That's what I want to add, because I know some people who are focusing and saying that you only need to have this I don't know, personal development conversations. I think that you need to balance that out.
No, the skills are I don't know how equally important, but they're massively important, because you're looking for a co-founder that's bringing some value skill set to the business, not just being a nice person that you can get on with, but there's a reason they're in that in the business in a particular role to bring certain skills. So, you know, it's I guess it's part of a balanced equation.
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask, I'm going to throw the next question up here to do with marketing here. Actually, I've jumped a little bit. I wanted to go on to tools. So specific tools, Egils. Tools and strategies for startup founders. So what whether it's the AI type of things, whether it's things that you used in your agency, what specific tools and strategies can help startup founders?
So
remember, they're bootstrapped. Remember, they're not big budgets. This isn't, you know, big corporations here.
Marketing, if I look at marketing tools, still I have to connect with my agency days is analytics. Analytics is the most important thing that the founders need to understand, because you might learn how to cut your video, you might learn how to create kind of content or create some kind of advertising campaign, but analytical tools like Google Analytics or similar tools, they are tremendously important, because sometimes you need to set up, like, for example, you need to analyze what happens with a person who comes into your website, and what that person does in the future, what happens when that person signs up to your like purchases something to you, and then that person is being added to your CRM. And so I would say the most important thing is to analyze these things, and I think that's very much connected with what you also do, is this idea validation, because when you like startup founders, if you're creating a job for you, you do a decent job, you get a decent salary, and many people do that, and that works because somebody is taking care of you by understanding that bigger picture. If you become a founder, if you become an entrepreneur yourself, you suddenly need to understand that bigger picture yourself. And the biggest skill, the biggest tool you need to learn, I think, is the analytical tools. And for the idea validation is that you build out hypothesis, and then you're like, okay, I need 5 clients. Okay, what do I need for 5 clients? I need 100 people to sign up. What I need for 100 people to sign up, I need 10,000 to visit my website. How can I get 10,000 people to visit my website? I need to have, I don't know, like 100,000 people to view my post on Facebook or LinkedIn. So you need to understand these analytical things. That's the one biggest tool that I would mention, the marketing tool that the startup founders need to master.
That's very interesting, because as you know, the idea validation is my core in what I do, that's leading to product market fit. But I've always seen startups as a combination of being a scientist and an artist. So the analytical idea validation is all about running experiments. So having these tools to be able to run the scientific experiments before you become creative and you start to build things is really important. So it's understanding when to be scientist, when to put my scientist hat on, and when to be creative. Eccles, we got a question from Christopher Norris in the audience, going back to the philosophy side of things that we're chatting. So I'll put that on screen.
Okay.
So Christopher's asking about understanding philosophy impact in pre-launch startups. So the actual impact of this.
Well, psychology itself, how I would answer this is, when you understand your own psychology and psychology of others, you understand how you can impact others. And I think the first thing you also mentioned is the team, and the psychology of the team then leads to the larger vision. I think without understanding psychology, it will be very hard to just build that vision of yours. At least that's how I interpret this thing, is that you should definitely lean into this topic to educate yourself and bring out this self-awareness and empathy and emotional intelligence to understand others.
Yeah, no, very good. Very powerful. Very powerful. Eggles, we're getting towards the end of our half hour. So I want to throw you quite a hard question here.
Okay.
So if someone had just 24 hours to plan a marketing strategy, give them a crash course. What would the crash course agenda look like here? So
do you want to plan or also execute?
We want to execute. We want
Okay.
to execute. We want a plan that we can execute.
Execute in those 24 hours?
In the 24 hours.
Okay. I would, first of all, as I already said, is I would look at the past successes. I would analyze what kind of assets we have, email lists, what kind of things that we already have. And that's definitely, because you need to always put, like you said, that scientist hat and analyze what has been good in the past. Then what I would do, the next thing is that just come up with the first thing, maybe even ask AI to come up with some kind of first thing. Then pick up your phone. You should have at least 10 people to call. Pick up your phone, send them on LinkedIn, just say, hey, I'm doing this in 24 hours. I'm launching this in 24 hours. Like, what would you say? Like, you could call me, I could call you. We could validate that idea. Then once you initially build that first understanding of what those people told you, I think you could start to put those things together and be more specific. Like, for example, people would say, oh, this is amazing. Send this to email or record a video. Like, you could get already a feedback. So in this case, you would already have this much clearer message, and you could build some kind of plan, but don't, like, 24 hours is 24 hours. So, and then just execute. They send out that emails or make a post. Advertising might take longer because they might not approve your ad, but I don't know. That's the most important thing. Look at the past, talk to the first 10 people, and I don't know what will come of that, but just listen.
And can we use AI to speed it up? Can we?
Definitely. That's that I mentioned, is that when you, like, for example, if you would have built something that I said in this conversation previously, where all your past testimonials are in that AI, you could copy paste this question, add a little bit more detail. So what exactly do you want to achieve in those 24 hours? And ask AI, and AI will use those assets that you have and say, well, you have 7,000 connections on LinkedIn. Let's use that in 24 hours.
Right. Fantastic. So starting a business in 24 hours by Eggles. Wonderful. Eggles, before we go, we're sort of coming towards the end of our time. How can people get hold of you? You're an interesting guy. You're helping people start businesses. You're coaching. You're doing AI. Really, how can people find you, get hold of you, speak to you? And what would your call to action be at the end of this live stream to for yourself?
Well, for myself, if people see that there is like some kind of spark coming in their mind, some kind of connection that could be made, is just reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you click that connect button, the next screen will show up, add the note, add some kind of a custom note like, hey, let's talk about this. I have this, or something that comes to your mind, because we never know what will spark the conversation is unless we do that. And yeah, we can jump on a call and just have a conversation, and we will see where that will lead.
Egils, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And
thank
hopefully we
you.
can have you on some of our podcasts and live streams again quite soon. So
Okay,
bye for
thank
now,
you very
Egils.
much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.